boat crash was weighing heavy on him, and it was consuming his life almost, it seemed like, and he was just harder to reach. And there was a couple instances where I referred to him as having his ass on his shoulders, because that's how I felt. It was disrespectful of me to feel that way and to say that out loud, but that's how I felt, because he just wasn't himself with us anymore. He came in and it was just like, yelled our names and just didn't treat us the same way he did prior to the boat accident.
That was Annette Griswold. She was a former paralegal of disgraced attorney Alec Murdaugh, and she testified during his murder trial about his demeanor following the boat crash that involved his son Paul and the death of Mallory Beach. On the docket tonight, new details surrounding the case. But first, Court TV legal correspondent Chanley Painter has the story.
What bridge is, Paul, what bridge is this?
We got a water emergency.
There's 6 of us and 1 is missing.
We have a boat incident underneath the Archer Creek Bridge.
February 24th, 2019, approximately 2:30 a.m. Paul Murdaugh and 5 of his friends were on their way home after a night of partying. The teens were in Paul's father's boat, which they took out that night to avoid DUI checkpoints.
So we've got 1 person presumably in the water missing.
We're under the only bridge in Archer.
There's 6 people on board. They currently have 1 missing.
Who's missing?
Female Mallory Beach is missing.
19-year-old Mallory Beach, her boyfriend, Anthony Cook, and Paul Murdaugh were thrown from the boat after it crashed into a bridge piling. Paul and Anthony Cook made it back to shore, but Mallory Beach was killed. Her body was recovered a week later.
Within 2 months, Paul Murdaugh was facing criminal charges as well as civil suits brought by the Beach family and the survivors of the boat crash. The accident shined a spotlight on Paul and his powerful, well-connected family.
Everybody knows the Murdaughs. You know, it's a household name that's been here forever.
According to the prosecution, the day Maggie and Paul Murdaugh were killed, Alec Murdaugh was under extreme pressure. He had allegedly been stealing from clients and his law firm for more than a decade, and he was working on financial disclosures for an upcoming hearing in the boat crash case. Looking back on the repercussions of that tragic night, Mallory Beach's boyfriend, Anthony Cook, shared in the HBO documentary Low Country, The Murdaugh Dynasty, what he believes the impact of her death is.
There's a whole lot of people getting justice because of her. None of it would have ever been discovered if it hadn't have been for that boat wreck.
We know the criminal case is over in a sense in terms of Maggie and Paul Murdaugh's death and the killing, but the civil case continues with the boat crash case that's happening in a courtroom, and there are filings that are happening behind the scenes. And here's some of the new details that happened today that were filed in this case. First, Judge Daniel Hall denied Gregory Parker Incorporated's motion for summary judgment, and also Alec Murdaugh's attorneys filed a motion for reconsideration of an order from the judge that denied payment of attorney's fees. Now, Gregory Parker, that first mention of what's new today, he's a co-respondent, co-defendant in the case of the boat crash involving the death of Mallory Beach, because he's also been sued because his line of convenience stores was linked to giving Paul Murdaugh that alcohol that he drank underage that night on the same day that he was driving, allegedly, that boat in which Beach was killed. Let's bring in the think tank to talk about what's going on with these new developments. Still with us, criminal defense attorney Al Wunsch III, criminal defense attorney Darnell Crossland, and family law attorney Jennifer Brandt. Al, let me start with you when it comes to this dram shop issue, essentially. I don't really hear that term often, but when you have a convenience store or any kind of establishment that serves alcohol to a minor or overserves someone and they end up doing some damage to someone else, they could be on the hook. He's still in this case. They tried to get out of it, file that motion for summary judgment, but they are still together in terms of being co-defendants. And they've also argued that they can't get a fair trial if they're still there with Alec Murdaugh. Do you think they can get a fair trial?
Well, you know, watching the depositions of the owner of that liquor store as well as the employees of that liquor store, they deserve to be in the case. I mean, they obviously didn't do their due diligence with regards to checking IDs when these people came in. That is required. They're licensed, and any licensed institution is not allowed to sell to someone who's under 21 years of age. You also mentioned about, to people who have drank too much. That's a little bit different with regards to a liquor store, but like in a bar, a bartender is not supposed to serve anyone who is visibly intoxicated. The law has set forth that an average person can tell who's intoxicated and who isn't, but it's strict liability when you serve a minor. And so in this case, I don't see how they would have gotten out. And the fact that they're claiming it's prejudice because they're being teamed up with Murdaugh, that may be the situation. But quite frankly, taking a look at what was done in this case and the fact that the ID was just looked at, like glanced at and handed back, and that these kids were served alcohol, they've got a bigger pot to be worried about than sitting next to Murdaugh.
Darnell, your thoughts on whether or not they can still get a fair trial being together with Murdaugh, with all of the publicity that he has gotten, and they may have to look at a jury and try to argue that they are different and not liable than him.
Yeah, well, I don't think that the fact that Alec Murdaugh was convicted of, murdering his family is going to necessarily spill over onto a direct negative benefit, a negative impression on the people being tried with him. I think they'll be able to look at Alec Murdaugh and separate him from them. And two, in some weird low country kind of way, I think the people still have a lot of deference and reverence for the Murdaugh family. So I wouldn't think, that necessarily that's going to be something that's going to be determinative just because the Murdaugh family's there.
Jennifer, react to that Darnell just said about them still having deference as a family. We saw at least one of the brothers take the stand. He seemed to be compelling. Then we saw Alec Murdaugh take the stand. We saw the grandfather's picture being taken down and put back up again in the courtroom for someone who was longstanding in the legal community. Do you think that's going to matter in this case?
I don't think so anymore. I think at one point there was a lot of deference to the family and to the grandfather for sure, and the other relatives. But Alex Murdaugh and what he's done, and even Paul, unfortunately, I mean, this poor young girl, Mallory Beach, lost her life. I think the community is rightly very upset about that. Her family, for sure, if you listen to them, they feel that they weren't treated appropriately when they were searching for her body, that all the focus was on Paul Murdaugh and the Murdaugh family. So I think you have an angry community here. I don't think you have a community that's holding much deference to this family anymore, unfortunately, for the grandfather, who may not have had anything to do with this. But certainly they seem to be very upset with Alex Murdaugh, rightly so, and the family for what's been done in this accident. So I don't think there's any deference. I think there's despise, if anything.
Well, we may soon know what a jury or a judge does with this case. The Murdaugh boat crash trial is scheduled to begin August 14th of this year. We will be following it very closely, bringing you all the latest leading up to it.